We come from many backgrounds, we come from many places. The common bonds that join us go back centuries. It is found in small towns and large cities, along the back roads and quiet diners and farms, and it lives in PTA meetings, crowded gymnasiums, and busy factory floors. It's a spirit of determination, volunteerism, and service as old as the country itself. Wearing the uniform of our nation, the citizen soldiers and airmen of the Oregon National Guard reflect their community's aspirations, hopes, and dreams for the future. Our missions are seldom easy, often presenting challenges and testing our resiliency, but we wouldn't want it any other way. As Oregon Military Department citizens and service members, we are at our best when our state or nation turn to us in time of crisis. It's an obligation we don't take lightly and one we gladly embrace. Dedicated to serve and guided by our core values of character, competence, courage, and commitment.
Over the past 3 years, Oregon National Guard members have been on the front lines of the coronavirus pandemic, supporting our neighbors and nation, from operating testing sites to providing vaccines to thousands of Oregonians, as well as mobilizing to support other missions throughout our communities. For example, over 1,500 of our citizen soldiers and airmen this past year were assigned to Task Force Reassurance, which directed staffing assistance at nearly 50 hospitals. As the most significant domestic mobilization since World War II, the deployment was short-lived. By the end of December, the Omicron variant was surging cases around the nation.
And with a surge of COVID-19 cases, Governor Kate Brown ordered hundreds of National Guard members to help with hospital relief. 1,200 Oregon citizen soldiers and airmen mobilized on Wednesday. Now, this new activation of the Guard is an increase from the over 500 the governor previously announced. They'll help in 40 hospitals across the state. National Guard members will provide much-needed support for the understaffed hospitals.
These mobilizations for domestic operational support have only made our Oregon National Guard soldiers and airmen more ready and resilient force. It's allowed us to take on overseas missions better prepared, more organized, and responsive for nearly any demanding situation. As January began, the second mobilization of nearly 120 Oregon National Guard soldiers assigned to Charlie Troop, 1st Squadron, 82nd Cavalry Regiment, deployed to Poland to support the European Deterrence Initiative as part of Operation Atlantic Resolve. By the end of the month, 130 members of Alpha Troop returned from Poland.
Troop commander for the Oregon National Guard and a part of the 130 soldiers formerly mobilized in April of 2021 in Albany, Oregon.
Over there, we conducted many field exercises, many NATO live fire shoots with our allies, with not just the Polish, but with Croatia, Romania. That's how we supported each other.
Also deploying to Europe during the past year, 9 soldiers of the 115th Mobile Public Affairs Detachment were assigned to Special Operations Command Europe in Stuttgart, Germany. They provided public affairs support throughout Europe during their 9-month assignment. As pandemic travel restrictions decreased, in-person training with our state partnership program host nations was once again possible. In October 2021, the 10th annual disaster response exercise and exchange between the government of Bangladesh and the U.S. Army Pacific took place in Dhaka, Bangladesh. They focused on the dual disasters of earthquake management during a pandemic. 6 months later, in March, Oregon Guardsmen participated in Tiger Lightning 2022, a bilateral exercise sponsored by U.S. Indo-Pacific Command and hosted by the Bangladesh Armed Forces. Joint disaster training is a crucial component of working with our SPP nations, but the foundation for this preparation stems from many of the frequent missions here at home. For example, hundreds of Guard members took part in a large-scale training mission in mid-June which brought together the 102nd Civil Support Team and SURF-P in a multi-day disaster exercise. Many participants have civilian careers connected to their emergency specialized service, like physicians, EMTs, firefighters, and police officers. Other members range from at-home parents to marketing professionals and telecom workers. While these two field training exercises were taking place, members of the 173rd Fighter Wing took part in an earthquake and readiness tabletop exercise, which simulated some of the chaos that might follow a Cascadia earthquake. In addition, the Oregon National Guard worked with other state and federal agencies, practicing how resources, emergency medical response, and rescue operations function. As a result, these training exercises can often become real-life emergency circumstances. After completing a day of small arms training, airmen with the 125th Special Tactics Squadron were in a convoy heading to Gowan Field in Idaho on May 15th, when an auto accident involving two motorcycles unfolded in front of them on Interstate 84. The extreme injuries required immediate medical attention, and the airmen provided on-the-spot first aid. Senior Master Sergeant Stephen Studenny, the 125th STS Senior Enlisted Leader, proudly said, "You have over a century's worth of combat experience with the medics we had on the ground. So if I'm ever in a situation with that bad a trauma, those are the guys I want working on me." As the Omicron variant peaked in late winter, additional in-person training schedules filled our Guardsmen's calendar. The Oregon Air National Guard traveled and hosted exercises for not only their flying mission, but critical support units too. For example, over several days in late April, two KC-135 tankers from the 141st Air Refueling Wing from Fairchild Air Force Base in Washington practiced warfighting skills, supplying fuel for the 173rd Fighter Wing jets at Kingsley Field in Klamath Falls. The training allowed airmen from the Washington Air National Guard to pack up and stage on an unfamiliar airfield and build state-to-state team building. Over 200 members of the 142nd Wing took part in the Checkered Flag 22 exercise at Tyndall Air Force Base in Florida in May. The 2 weeks of training focused on weapon systems and dissimilar aircraft training. Also in May, the 270th Air Traffic Control Squadron used its annual training to practice deploying to remote locations. They spent 2 weeks at Amity Army Airfield in California. Also traveling for essential joint training, the 116th Air Control Squadron participated in Exercise Red Flag at Nellis Air Force Base in Nevada in March. The three main areas of focus included defensive, offensive, and counter-air techniques. Although the members of the 116th spend countless hours training at their home station, large-scale exercises like Red Flag strengthen unique mission capabilities, and working with other units enhances best practices. Oregon citizen soldiers were also on point this summer on other real-world missions. Alpha Company, 3rd Battalion, 116th Cavalry Regiment mobilized for a 1-year deployment to Kuwait in August. The soldiers augmented the 2nd Battalion, 116th Cavalry Regiment from Idaho National Guard. While preparing for deployment at the end of the fiscal year, Detachment 1 Alpha Company, 1st Battalion, 112th Aviation Regiment, 82nd Troop Command Brigade, mobilized approximately 30 soldiers along with their 4 UH-72 Lakota helicopters for domestic operations along the southwest border of the U.S. The difficulties with nearly 2 years of canceled training and rescheduled readiness exercises during the pandemic also impacted community events for Oregon National Guard members around the state. For the first time in 5 years, Century Eagle 2022 soared again over Kingsley Field for 3 days of summer fun in mid-June. With aerial demonstrations, festivities, and food for Southern Oregon crowds watching vintage aircraft like a fully restored B-17 Flying Fortress making low passes to thrill those attending, setting the tone for the upcoming 75th anniversary of the United States Air Force on September 18th. The world turned its eyes to the World Athletics Championships held at the historic and refurbished Hayward Field in Eugene. The Eugene Police Department called upon the Oregon National Guard 102nd Civil Support Team to provide 24-hour hazard assessment team operations for the 10-day event from June 15th to the 24th. This was the first time that the World Athletics Championships had been held in the United States, as nearly 2,000 of the best track and field athletes from more than 200 countries competed in the event. The COVID-19 pandemic also delayed the official celebration of the 50th anniversary of Camp Rosenbaum, originally scheduled for the summer of 2020.
Well, happening this week, a longtime summer camp on the Oregon coast is marking a big milestone. Camp Rosenbaum is turning 50.
The program teaches underprivileged kids important citizenship skills in hopes of building a brighter future.
This year, campers were welcomed back by staff and volunteers for a week of fun from July 24th to the 29th. Summer camps were also held at all 4 Starbase academies throughout Oregon. The STAR-based program engages students through the inquiry-based curriculum with its hands-on, minds-on experiential activities. Each academy chooses a customized curriculum such as the popular BattleBot Camp held at the Raymond F. Reese Training Center in Umatilla, Oregon. This unique curriculum helps students boost STEM skills by building Lego robots to battle for supremacy. The competition for the Oregon Best Warrior took place in February. 17 Army Guard soldiers from around the state participated in the event. They were pushed through 4 days of physically grueling challenges while testing their mental endurance and grit. Sergeant Nathan Flores, assigned to Delta Company, 741st Brigade Engineering Battalion, won the NCO competition, as Specialist Wyatt Walls, assigned to HHB 2nd Battalion, 218th Field Artillery, took top honors in the Soldier Division. Both soldiers took part in the Region 6 competition in May at Camp Guernsey Joint Training Center in Wyoming. Walls again bested all contenders and moved on to the National Best Warrior competition that was held in Nashville, Tennessee, from July 24th to the 29th. Later in the year, Walls was selected as one of 5 Army National Guard team members from the 54 states and U.S. territories to compete in the U.S. Army's inaugural Best Squad competition held at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. In regards to domestic operations, the Oregon National Guard lived up to the National Guard motto of always ready, always there. In 2022, the Oregon Army National Guard flew 11 search and rescue missions and provided traffic control assistance for communities affected by wildfires.
Soldiers and airmen with the Oregon National Guard and Army are lending a helping hand at the Rum Creek fire. This is after the fire exploded in acreage and now stands at over 19,000 acres burned. Crews were called to help assist with the blaze on August 27th and arrived the following day. In the matter of less than 24 hours for some, crews made it to Josephine County and instantly started their helping efforts. And while crews are trained to help mop up alongside firefighters, this crew of 51 troops were called to assist with traffic enclosures.
On April 21st, President Biden made the first of 2 trips to Oregon, arriving at the Portland Air National Guard Base. While addressing a crowd at the base, the president highlighted the benefits of the $1 trillion infrastructure bill passed by Congress and met with Oregon Air National Guard leaders. With a fitting conclusion to the fiscal year, Camp Umatilla was formally renamed the Raymond F. Reese Training Center.
A former military weapons depot in eastern Oregon renamed for one of Oregon's most celebrated soldiers.
And it's getting new life as a training center for future citizen soldiers of the Oregon National Guard.
Retired Raymond F. Reese.
A Vietnam War veteran, Major General Raymond F. Reese served as Adjutant General of the Oregon National Guard for 16 years, retiring in 2013. He later became National Director of the Army National Guard, Deputy Assistant Secretary of the Army for Training, and held several other high-ranking posts. He was here on this September day to see the former Umatilla Weapons Depot renamed in his honor.
Returning home to Oregon, General Daniel Hokanson, Chief of the National Guard Bureau, was the keynote speaker for the event. During his formal remarks, Hokanson, who served as the Adjutant General for Oregon following Reese's retirement, described the impact his mentor had on so many, saying,
"I am merely one of the countless number of soldiers and airmen he has influenced in his nearly 60-year career. And everyone at every rank, every partner at every level, has benefited from his counsel and leadership by example."
Reese's wife, Mary Lynn, officially dedicated the Raymond F. Reese Training Facility. This place will always bear his name to serve as an inspiration and a training mecca for Oregon's citizen soldiers.
Thank you to all who have served, are serving, and will serve. You are our heroes.
The past training year has been extraordinary both in scope and task. The entire team that makes up the Oregon Military Department, from our members in uniform, our civilian staff, our contractors, and countless volunteers, all make up an organization that continuously ensures the citizens of Oregon and our nation remain our primary responsibility. As President Truman famously said, "It's amazing what you can get done when you don't care who gets the credit."
Our legacy of service traces all the way back to the Massachusetts Bay Colony in 1636. As Oregonians and members of the National Guard, we close out 2022 continuing that legacy, having proudly served our communities, our state, and our nation. Thank you for your dedication and hard work over the past year and upholding our commitment to be always ready, always there.